It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Kyle Benedict as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Kyle Benedict. We have a lot to cover today. In studio with me today is Shelly Shepard. She's the Public Information Officer with Arizona Game and Fish.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming down.
Oh, you bet. I love coming down.
I know we have a lot to talk about.
We have a lot to talk about.
We're heading into the Memorial Day weekend, and with that, summer, kind of the unofficial start to summer.
It is.
Meaning a lot of people are going to start their outdoor recreation events,
yes.
And we're going to kind of cover some of that for you guys and go over some of the regulations, equipment, safety, guidelines, all that good stuff.
All that good. Yep, all that stuff.
We'll just dive right into it. Let's start with some spring wildlife. They're out now that the weather's getting warmer, and with that, we saw a press release come through a couple weeks ago regarding baby wildlife and young wildlife, and letting people don't mess with the baby wildlife. Yep. Something that I wasn't sure was, I didn't know that was a big problem. So what's some of the problems you guys see with that?
Yeah, it's always a great time of year to remind everybody about the fact that animals are going to start having babies. And a quick little simple reference is birds. Baby birds start hatching and maybe they fall out of the nest. And so the best option and opportunity there is for somebody just to pick up that baby bird and put it back in the nest. The other thing is there's kind of a myth out there. People say when you handle certain animals or birds that the parents will pick up a human scent and not take care of them. Mm-hmm. But birds don't have a really great sense of smell. So putting a baby bird back in the nest is going to be okay. But then, like you mentioned, you weren't even sure we had some issues. Other issues that do come up sometimes is people coming across baby animals and maybe assuming that they've been abandoned or orphaned. And most of the time, not the case. A lot of times it's the female taking care of the young, and she's just gone off. She's figured out where the young are, leave them be. She's gone off to maybe rest or feed, and that's when sometimes people come across small animals. Our primary concern, though, in Flagstaff area in northern Arizona, and throughout the state actually with deer fawns and elk calves, people come across those, and I do have to say that a lot of times people are coming across those small animals because of their dogs, and if they're out and about, and potentially if dogs are off leash, they seem to find some of those baby animals long before the human ever does. And our word to people is please just leave those baby animals alone. If you do end up coming across one, and even if you've had some contact with it, put it back where you found it. The mother is also now with your presence a little scared off. Mm-hmm. And as soon as we leave the area and we take our pets with us, she'll come back and check on the baby and everything will be okay. But the big thing is, folks, leave the baby animals alone. If they've wandered off a den site or a nest, whatever the case may be, is the best option is try to put them back. And of course, be very careful. We are not encouraging people to handle wildlife because you never know. Mm-hmm. But you can always wrap something in a towel, put it in a box, try to get it back to that home location, the den or whatever it may be. So now, those are just a few things.
I know sometimes in that release, and you even mentioned before the show, that some people bring wildlife into your guys' department. Now, obviously, you encourage people not to do that. Are there any cases or instances when that is appropriate, or regardless, call you guys?
There are times that people bring animals to our office, sick and injured. They just don't seem right. And we recommend folks try not to handle, wear gloves, put them in a blanket, put them in a box, keep it nice and dark. It'll keep them calm. And yes, that does happen. Our offices are open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And if it is kind of off hours, people still can call the Game and Fish hotline, our 1-800 number. There are wildlife rehabilitation centers in town. So there are those occasions where people are bringing things in. It's okay. But some of these critters, there's probably nothing wrong with them. And the best thing is leave them out where they were either found or you came across them. Even if the dog ends up picking something up and bringing it to you, try to get it back as close as possible that you can figure out.
Okay, observe from a distance, right?
Yeah, and I mean, when you talk about watching wildlife, it's observed from a distance. Some animals do tend to be a little bit more aggressive if they're trying to take care of young, or they're going to get scared off. And so, leave those little guys alone, especially the deer, fawns, and the elk calves. We get them so often, and sometimes there's nowhere to place them either, and that's difficult. So.
Okay, well, sticking with the wildlife trend, spring again, they're on the move out there, especially early morning hours, evening. What are some reminders for making sure you don't hit some of these wildlife on the roadways?
It's a great point, and you're right. Those early morning hours and after the sun goes down, if you're traveling on some of our major highways in Arizona, it's probably wise to slow your speed down and be more aware. If you can use your bright headlights, do that, but of course be very cognizant of other motorists. And people do ask us sometimes, why are they there, or why are they crossing the roadways? And a few examples. Right now, even though we've had some good rains and snow up north, we tend to see a collection of that rainwater along the roadways because that's where they drain into. So we're going to see some nice green up there, maybe compared to some of the other places around the forest or even the desert habitats. So that may be one reason why we see wildlife a little bit closer to the roads. And also, we do have travel corridors. Those wildlife move from one area where they maybe bed down for the night to where they go feed or find water. And they tend to cross those highways in certain locations. So the thing for folks to remember is just slow down your speeds at those certain times. And those folks that are driving I-17 between Munns Park and Flagstaff, people have asked us, what are those big tall fences? What's going on? And that is actually to keep elk and deer off of the roadways, and sometimes even funnel them to a spot where there is a safer location, or we've created, working with ADOT especially, maybe there's an overpass or an underpass for the wildlife, and that helps.
And real quick, if you do unfortunately hit a deer or an elk or just any type of wildlife, what should you do at that point? You know, I know some people aren't exactly sure whether they call 911, whether you just drive off. What's the correct procedure?
You know, depending on the severity of the accident, somebody may not even be able to leave the area. Typically 911 is called. Some law enforcement person will be probably heading in that direction. People can actually salvage that animal if they choose to. So if they want to keep that meat, any law enforcement agency should be able to issue what we call a salvage permit, and that allows that person that hit that wildlife with their vehicle to keep that animal. But again, people are usually making a call when an accident like that happens. We're usually not the first agency to respond, but we may get a call. But the folks that are with DPS kind of know the routine about getting that animal off of the roadway, making sure it's safe for other motorists to continue on their way if possible. And I do get asked frequently, is you guys just let those carcasses lay off the side of the road? And sometimes we do. As long as the roadway is open and it's safe, sometimes those are left there and sometimes they are removed. So we don't have those attracting other wildlife that close to the highway either, because things like bald eagles do come down and feed off of those carcasses, and we don't want bald eagles getting hit by cars either. So it depends on the situation what's removed or not. But that for motorists, they can call, they can get a salvage permit and keep that meat if they choose to. Sometimes they don't want it, and then it's either removed from the area or just pulled off the road more.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in a couple minutes, and when we come back, we're going to talk about off-highway vehicles, some of the safety reminders there, and as well as boating and things to remember when you're out on the lake. So we'll be right back here in a couple minutes. This is Countywide.
Right, mi cariño. So like I said, everything I learned about cooking, I learned from grandma's empanadas. Shall we go again?
Yep.
Mix the beef with the onions with the peppers with the paprika with the garlic with the oregano with the cumin. Got it?
Got it.
Throw on the olives, stir, season, stir again, pour out the flour, roll out the dough, make a circle, drop in a fistful of filling, fold over, press down, and ta-da!
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain.
They said a bottle was just a bottle. That no one would ever notice me. But I knew I could be more. That one day, I would make people smile.
Why is my son having trouble in school?
Finding lowest airfare to Istanbul.
No, I'm tired of fighting with my son over his homework.
Home, walk, restaurant. Need a review?
No. He's smart, but his mind wanders.
7 wonders of the world.
Why don't you understand me?
I do. I was trying to show how Connor feels every day. Redirecting to understood.org.
Join parents and experts at understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive.
Do we have to talk about this? Oh, that's not fun.
Welcome back to Countywide. I'm Kyle Benedict, joined with Shelley Shepard with Arizona Game and Fish, trying to just run through all sorts of things that we're trying to get through here, especially with, we're taping this before Memorial Day weekend, heading into it, but just summer right around the corner, weather's warming up, so everything is good to kind of just refresh on these things.
Yes.
And next is off-highway vehicles. I know, especially with a lot of land around here, so people, a lot of space to ride those dirt bikes, ATVs, trucks, Jeeps, any of that stuff. What are some of the issues you guys see with that?
I think some of the issues we see primarily actually is the safety equipment and how people are riding and potentially where they're riding. So, you know, you got to remember
we have
safety equipment. We've got helmets. Helmet requirements is 18 and under. You have to be riding with a helmet. And folks can actually take a look at the website. We have a OHV brochure that we hand out. It's got a booklet with all the rules and regulations. And the main thing is be safe. And like you just mentioned, this is Memorial Day weekend, kickoff for so many different types of activities. And if I can emphasize one thing is safety, safety, safety. So make sure you've got your goggles. Make sure you've got your helmet. Take a look at our booklet to see what other regulations you're going to need to follow. I think the other thing that folks don't realize, and like you said, there are a lot of places to go ride, but you need to have your OHV decal, and I forgot to grab one of those this morning, but it's $25, and it's a decal that actually goes on the plate of that off-highway vehicle. The other thing to remember is when folks are out and about, if they're going to be riding their ATV or their OHV primarily on dirt roads, let's say, I always use forest roads as an example. If you're going to be out and about on those roads, you still need to have your OHV registered, and it needs to be street legal. And a lot of folks don't realize that. Of course, if you're on pavement, everybody kind of knows that one. But most of those forest roads are considered maintained roadways, and you have to have a street legal registered vehicle. And that it has a lot of stipulations to it, turn signals and some other things like that. And again, in our booklet, it's a great reference for people to figure out, oh my gosh, what am I going to need on this thing? And that's why it's so great that you and I are talking about this stuff today, because people may just load up their stuff, head out for the weekend, forget to check for the off-highway vehicle decal, got all the safety equipment, does it still work? The straps on these goggles are getting all stretched out, and that registration and making it street legal.
So now, can you just take any one of these Forest Service roads out into the forest and just unload your dirt bike or your ATV or whatever and just take off? Or what are the regulations there?
Yeah, you know what? You pretty much can. Okay. The thing that's emphasized is stay on trails and roads. You may see some signs out in the forest and other public lands that say no motorized travel. It may even say road closed. Of course, do not venture past those. But yeah, you can pull off with your trailer or your pickup truck and drop your ATV and then go from there. It's just utilizing most of those roads. Again, got to be street legal. And the other thing that I would really encourage folks to remember is if they're going to be recreating on some of our national forests, there's been some changes. It's called the Travel Management Rule, and there have been some road closures and some restrictions on camping and whatnot. And the best thing there is for folks to either pick up those maps or go to those websites and double check. And the best thing is if you know where you're going, check on all those regulations or call those offices in that area, like our office and the Forest Service and whoever else. The other thing is state land is interesting, and really check on the regulations there. You do have to get some permits when you want to enter state land, or if somebody is actively hunting or fishing, the possession of that license is their permit to enter that land. So you can't just drive out and go, I've got a hunting license, I can be here, right? You have to be actively doing that activity or obtain those permits, and that's all through state land. It's not our department.
Okay, so one of the biggest things, like you mentioned, safety. These helmets right here, of course, we have, and I think these ones are more protected, provides more protection than, say, your bicycle helmet.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, and it's probably going to be a better fit. Your goggles fit better, and the eye protection. It can be goggles if something has a windshield, or just sunglasses is meeting the requirement for eye protection. One other thing to emphasize, and it doesn't matter if you're driving a car, you're driving an ATV, you're on a boat this weekend. Please do not drink and operate or drive. You asked about big issues. That's another one we see. Yeah.
Perfect segue. Talking boating now. Safety equipment. We have life jackets here, of course. We have some of the ones for children there. We have these adult life jackets here. How important, what are some of the other things? Obviously, everyone knows you have to have a life jacket on your boat. Maybe. I mean, some people might not know that.
Yeah.
But how important is it to have these type of things on your boat?
Well, pardon me, again, safety equipment, number one. And have them there, but in bags and stashed under seats doesn't do anybody any good at all. You've got to have these things readily accessible. You've got to have a life jacket for everybody on the boat. And for kids 12 and under, they have to be in life jackets while the boat is underway. Two other safety equipment pieces to talk about. I've got this cushion here. It's called a square throwable cushion. Any boats that are 16 feet and longer, you've got to have a throwable device, and that could be this cushion. Years ago, people used to carry those big round ring buoys. Yeah. People don't really carry those anymore, but this will count. And for certain boats, certain types of boats, fire extinguishers. And we've got boating guides available. We've got information, again, on the Game and Fish website, which is now known as the Portal, and people can find out more about those boating regulations. But the equipment, of course, another important factor, and you and I were talking earlier about life jackets. And a lot of people get a little mad when we start talking about wearing their life jackets. But here's a scenario. If there's a boat accident, a boat flips over, boats crash into each other, and people are knocked unconscious. If you're not wearing a life jacket, you're probably going to drown if you are knocked unconscious. And so I've had people tell me, but I'm a great swimmer, I'm a strong swimmer, and so am I. But
tough to swim when you're knocked out.
Yes, absolutely. And so things to think about. And if the kids are getting antsy, they don't want to be in their jackets, take a break, go park the boat somewhere, let them have a little free time, and then get them back in the life jackets. And
I'm sure patrols are going to be out on the lakes and the waterways looking for people under the influence drinking and operating their boats, life jackets, fire extinguishers, all that good stuff.
Yep, that's routine for us when we've got these big holiday weekends, and we'll be out.
Okay, great. Well, we're going to take another break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the new website, which is now the Game and Fish Portal, as Shelley mentioned, and also touch on a little bit about the hunt applications deadlines coming up here. So that's coming up in a few minutes here on Countywide.
Of all the things you've done with your bike, donating it to Goodwill may be the most incredible of all. Your donations help fund job placement and training for people in your community, which means your stuff can be more powerful than you think. Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
every budget, so don't accept defeat. Now you can get covered and still buy me treats.
You take care of your pets. Now it's their turn to take care of you. Visit getcoveredamerica.org to learn about your health insurance options.
Welcome back to Countywide. We just have a few minutes here left in the program, sitting down with Shelly Shepard from the Arizona Game and Fish Department, covering a lot of stuff regarding outdoor activities here with the weather getting warmer, and it's beautiful despite the rain that we've had this here in May. But you mentioned earlier that your new website is now being referred to as a portal.
Yes.
Right? Can you explain that for me?
Don't get confused, everyone. You can still access our information through azgfd.gov, which is what we've always called the website. But we've reformatted it. It is the Game and Fish portal. We have a lot of the same information, but the redesign was to hopefully help our customers find information a little bit easier. It's got a new look. But like I said, a lot of the same information is on there, and you can still click on certain headers, whether it's hunting or it's fishing or whatever it may be. You can still buy online licenses. A couple of neat things about the portal is that now a person can set up their own personal profile, and you can get in there, register all your information, and you can request information that you want to have kind of sent right to your profile. So if you're really interested in fishing, you may just ask for a stocking schedule and all sorts of stuff related to fishing. It just depends on what you're interested in the information. Even a boating registration, we can send you a reminder through the portal, which is great. So have patience with us. We're still working on stuff. Sometimes when you'll click on certain topics, you'll see the old format and the old look of the website, and then there's going to be a lot of stuff that will be the new design and the new portal. So check it out and kind of click around and let us know what you think.
Okay.
And that's new.
And we also have with that portal, I mean, as you making it easier for those hunters or boating license, we have the fall hunt deadlines coming up.
Yes,
right?
yes.
When is that?
Big stuff, yeah. For all those folks that are into hunting or maybe looking into this for the fall, June 9th is going to be deadline day for the majority of the fall hunts. We've already done the draw for elk and antelope, so folks know if they've got drawn or not. But June 9th, another big day coming up, and a couple of changes there. We are now going to run that deadline until 11:59 p.m. on Tuesday the 9th. This is to address if we have any problems or issues. It's going to give people plenty of time to be able to drop off those applications or still get online. Don't do it at 11:58 p.m., but that should give people more time. So look for that. Our offices with the drop boxes will be open up until that time. Typically, we've closed at 7 in the past, but we'll be open at least to accept applications. You can't come in after 5 to buy licenses or whatever else at our offices. You can always go to Big 5 or Walmart to get the licenses that you need to apply. So the time change. The other neat thing is if people do apply online by June 2nd, they are actually entered to possibly win a $500 gift card, which is through Sportsman's Warehouse, but donation through Wildlife for Tomorrow.
Nice.
So that's another little incentive to get onto the portal and get your your application in early. So
it all ties together.
It all ties together.
Perfect.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
You
and
betcha.
Going over all this stuff. A lot to cover. So hopefully you guys caught on to some of that. And again, go to the azgfd.gov. Still have plenty of information on there. Check out the new portal and the fall hunt deadline coming up. So that's going to do it for us today on Countywide. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, they're not like your little toy airplanes. They're huge.
down here and it like stretched out.